Hey Mark.
Hey Niels.
So we're here in San Francisco downtown. We just left like Google Office with you, and we met Gary. And in the past like 48 hours, it was like a bit intense since the event with Dust here.
It was. We had I think the best we could see in what used to be my adoptive town, Salesforce. When I was here, I came here regularly to work with Salesforce, where I spent 5 years
Yeah.
leading AI transformation, and it was good to now come with you. Now that I've gone rogue, and going rogue with Paatch,
Yeah.
bringing Paatch to San Francisco, to make Paatch become international, with the first Dust event here, and also the people we met from Salesforce, from Google AI, from OpenAI. It was very much a Bay Area induction for Paatch.
Yeah, I was thinking about Rogue and the Salesforce Tower. I was looking at it this morning when we arrived, and I was thinking, okay, like during the 48 hours, we met a lot of people, like influential people in the AA space, and they are not on top of the Salesforce Tower. They are more in the ground in these offices, and I feel here that in many underground places and like classic now open spaces and many like I mean rogue spaces, that's where the space is like boiling and where things are about creativity. And no, is it wrong
Yeah,
or
it's one of the beauty of the Bay Area. I mean, it has, of course, good and bad, but one of the benefits, it's really an incubator for engineering creativity. And the time where everybody is talking about AI, here everybody is doing AI one way or another, whether it's vertically in the big towers, or horizontally, or as you say, underground. We met lots of startups as well that do AI, and everybody's trying to contribute to what's probably the biggest technical revolution that we are gonna see, at least in this decade, if not in this lifetime.
and there is a lot of speed in like the AI since ChatGPT was launched in November 2022, and now I feel like 2 or 3 years later, the biggest challenge and that's one of the point of Patch now with the playgrounds is about adoption. Like all the discussions we had during these 2.5 days here was about either at the enterprise level or for the prosumer, as Isabella from Manus said, like how we gonna have real use cases and real people adopt AI or agentic AI. I don't know. What do you think about that? Like, what's the point?
Yeah. I often, go back to this recent statistic that 95% of the AI implementations have no ROI, and they don't have ROI because they are basically, there's lots of proof of concepts, but that don't scale. Or you try to boil the ocean, but unless you have a meaningful, it's not even adoption, it's adoption and then integration in your daily work, then it cannot have an impact. And that's why it's actually easier to see the impact in smaller organization, because then there is no process, no bureaucracy, no big teams that need to approve everything that gets integrated, and for good reasons. I mean, including security and data protection. But that's why you're right. Isabella's point about the focus on prosumer is interesting, because that's really where you can very quickly adopt AI and deploy it on a day-to-day basis. Well, what I find really interesting is in the people we meet, you really start to see a disparity between the people with AI and the people without AI. And more you have people who think they're with AI because they use ChatGPT, but the real people with AI is the people who have started to really make it part of their team and part of their day-to-day in multiple other tools, not just the mainstream tools.
There is a kind of like necessity of psychological switch for any individual in companies and in organizations to be sure like they have an individual ROI. I feel this. And then I really wonder like what's the best methodology to go from these individuals having this switch like psychological with ChatGPT or using daily LLMs, whatever the way they do. And what do you think will be like the switch at an organization level? Like, is it because the IT director will be okay with, like, Dust are basically selling, because we were organizing here the first Plaiground for Paatch with Dust. And I love the way they are, you know, like implementing a workspace at the organization level, and any individual inside their business process can create their own agent. It's a little bit different than what Manus is doing with the prosumer one. What do you think with your vision as, you know, like former Salesforce SVP AI Transformation? What do you think will be like the good methodology to have the switch on an organization level?
To me, one of the big challenge for organizations, going back to trying to boil the ocean, is to identify what is a use case that truly is very costly because of high human manual work, and that is highly automatable through agentification. And when you focus again on not everything that AI can do, but one area where there is a real cost due to a lot of human labor that can be easily automated into an agentic workflow, that's really where you can, I think, fast track your adoption and prove to your own organization that you can have an ROI because you really focus on one area. To me, one of the mistakes that a lot of people make is they adopt, or they think they adopt AI in general, when in reality it's much better to say, I'm going to do one thing with it and do it very well. So that's one way of answering. The other one, going back to what Gary was saying about FDEs, forward deployment engineers, Palantir was the first one because they really wanted to offer an end-to-end solution integration to develop at scale the concept of FDEs. But it feels like FDEs, true FDEs that really, are, here to help, not just adopt but deploy the AI inside a team, inside an organization, are essential.
I mean, this morning I heard this about like FDEs. I think like one of our first meeting also was about talking about FDEs. But do you think these FDEs will be replaced also by AI or agentic AI in the future? Is it like the vision because that's what occurred with like other employees in such organizations like techie organizations now? No,
there probably will be, but it's going to be some time before you can have agents deploy themselves. I do work with some of the companies I advise as part of Rogue on agents that even create other agents, and indeed you could imagine a world where there is no humans, and that's not to hope and not to aspire. We need to make sure that there's still a human in the loop, but I think it's going to take some time because there is a lot of people, especially in the larger organizations, but even in the medium ones, there is a lot of people that need to integrate AI into their job, into multiple facets of their job. So that's why I'm saying start small, one area, but that really can be, if you make it right, can have a significant impact and solve a problem. Because very often a lot of those intents, I was talking with a startup entrepreneur this morning, was telling me, you where you have huge human labor need, like it or not, today there is lots of subcontracts because you don't have enough employees to do what it takes to manage or administrate your a lot of your internal processes, and so identifying areas where there can be an immediate ROI, to me, is the way to go.
And another question for you also I had during this short stay here in San Francisco is that, do you think, well, like the labs are, we saw yesterday, like the big fundraising from Anthropic, OpenAI is doing like quite well, of course. So what do you think, because all the companies we are working with Paatch is more at the, the use case level, let's say, they are like agents, very specific agents for coding for Lovable, and we saw all the growth of Lovable, which is like incredible. Do you think like the growth and the market from agentic and LLMs will be driven by this kind of enterprise, like all these startups in Series B, Series C with high growing, or will it be the labs and like all the applications of, let's say, ChatGPT, Codex, operators? What do you think about this?
I think it's a combination of both. I think we're going to continue to see lots of innovation from the big, Anthropics and OpenAI of this world, who really are, developing the next iteration of AI capabilities, of new models that are going to go beyond even LLMs. But then back to the point of identifying use case, I think that we're probably going to see lots of startups raise significant amount of money. And we heard, the people who talked to us, who were talking about raising money, were not talking about hundreds of thousands of dollars, but tens of millions or more. And the reality is, it's very often on taking a very specific use case, specific application, and saying we're going to build for that. And then you can always expand. But I think that the idea that there's going to be almost model investment and technology development, but there's also going to be lots of application companies that are going to raise tens of millions of dollars to develop a very specific application of one or a combination of models.
That's crazy. Yeah. And that's more like for your vision, like you are always like more like high level reflections since I know you. So do you think like if people have all adopts AI in let's say in 10 years, like everybody's using AI daily, it will change the purpose like of life of people. They will probably like work like entirely differently, like if agents are doing their work, like what do you think will be the purpose for all these individuals, but also for organization, like what the goal?
Yeah. I mean, I recently wrote an article on Indeed as the US was celebrating Labor Day on the future of work. And it's true that since the Industrial Revolution, we've basically been, defining almost work as our identity. But if you think about how the Industrial Revolution disrupted the agricultural era, work, life, identity, society has completely changed. And I think we're at the very beginning of a similar change, probably a significantly more transformative change because of the nature of AI. And I think it's probably going to force us to reflect on, is work the only thing that we aspire to do? You often say the Americans live to work and the French work to live. Well, maybe it's a time for some of the French mantras to actually say maybe we need to live to not work, but live to play a little bit more, to be a little bit more curious, more inquisitive, more social, more humans. And I think that finding a way to to apprehend and anticipate how AI is going to change the way we live and who we are as a human race is one of the things that keeps me up at night, for sure.
That's the good version, and that's the good vision for AI, not the other one. That's
and
great.
Talking about a little bit, so indeed my permanent search for disruption.
Yeah.
So what about Paatch and Niels? To me, what was great about Niels in San Francisco is that it was I've always said, you need to go international with Paatch, and I felt that not only you came to the US this week to really continue that journey with the Paatch Plaiground, but also to really think how, and I'm sure you're going to come back, how you could really become an international platform, and how the vibe that there is in San Francisco, not the vibe coding, but the vibe of technology, of AI,
both of it,
is probably contagious for Paatch.
Contagious for me, contagious for Paatch, for you, I think, and of course, I'm gonna be back in I think in November, because there are a lot of big events, and that's in 2 months for me. So it will be like a good time frame to be sure we're gonna be back with a bigger events with the partners we have met in the 3 last days. So for sure, and that's the heart of the Gen AI ecosystem. The labs are here, the big techs are here, and they are working on the subject, on the topic also. So yeah, for sure, it's unlocking a lot of potential for me. So thank you for being here with me.
Well, I was glad to come. It was great to basically come back to San Francisco, where I've come many times, and open some of the doors that I have access to for you to basically build that layer of adoption, which, as we said at the beginning, is critical in the world of AI, and it's going to be huge for the years to come.
Yeah, let's do it now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Looking forward. See you in November.
Yeah, see you in November. Bye.
Bye.